Thank God for the good that is coming to your life, because no matter how bad things are, I promise you, there's a million people who have it worse than you. No matter how bad things are, you got a million things to be thankful. Now, what I want to do for the next 10 minutes is I want to talk about why so many Africans are not living their best life, because we are dealing with a crisis underachievement for African people. So I want to talk about why some of us are not living our best life. I'm putting my psychologist hat on now. I'm coming to you as the doctor of clinical psychology. I'm coming to you as the doctor of clinical psychology. I never take off my pan-Africanist hat. I never take off my revolutionist hat. But I'm coming to International Africans, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the PayPal, International Africans, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit the Cash App, Domestic Africans, $FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, American. Number one, these are in no order. While some of us as Africans, I'm speaking to continental Africans, I'm speaking to European Africans, I'm speaking to Australian Africans, I'm speaking to South Pacific Africans of mediocrity and underachievement. One reason, lack of discipline. Lack of discipline. If you don't have the ability to do what you don't want to do, you will never achieve the destiny God has intended for you. Discipline is divine. Discipline leads to self-mastery. Self-mastery makes you a god or a goddess. See, some of us walk around the Hotep community, the woke community, the fake conscious community, and we say things like, we are all gods and goddesses. No, not quite. Not quite. We all there. But you must develop it. You must actualize that potential. You are not a god just by being born. You are not a goddess just by being born. You have to evolve yourself into that. There must be an evolution of consciousness for there to be a revolution in reality. There must be an evolution in consciousness before there can be God status or goddess status. So that's number one. Work on your discipline. Work on your discipline. This is the Prince of Pan-Afrikanism coming to you live from Austin, Texas, to take off. Let me say it again. Your lower nature is at war with your higher nature. Your lower nature is at war with your higher nature. Your lower nature is still craving the cookies. Your lower nature is still craving the toxic phallus, the toxic vagina. Your lower nature is craving something that you mentally have outgrown. And so you are unhappy because you are a god living in a house. How you gonna be happy? How you gonna reach your highest destiny when you mating with the demons of evil? See, you can be ready up here, but if your flesh has you incarcerated, you can be ready intellectually, but if you're gonna imbalance the trifecta of my home, if one wife is evolving into her goddessness and the other wife is still comfortable, weaves, perms, hanging out at the club, getting drunk, smoking blunts all day, being more concerned about how she looks than how she thinks. Let me say it again. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand. Any man or woman who cares more about how they look on the outside than how they think on the inside is not somebody you need to be with. That is not a goddess, and that is not a god. That is not a goddess, and that is not a god. When I see these women on social media, no disrespect, but when I see a black woman spending more time taking pictures, every time I go to your page, it's nothing but pictures. All you do is take pictures of yourself all day long. In your 20s, maybe. Teenagers, of course. A 40-year-old woman, a 50-year-old woman, and her only contribution to black consciousness is her curves. And don't get me wrong, I love me some curves. I love me some curves. But if the only thing you have to offer, your whole social media is nothing but pictures of you, you are an underdeveloped soul. You are not on the path to goddessness. When you see a brother and all he want to talk about is lust, all he want to talk about is fat asses, all he want to talk about is car and his clothes and Gucci rags and Timberlands, if his whole conversation is about pulling up to the club and pulling up to the Queens, hanging out with the homies and smoking the weed, you're not on a path to godness, my brother. That's not the path. See, everybody want to be a god, but nobody wants to do the work to get there. Everybody wants to be a god, but nobody wants to do the work to get there. Everybody wants to be a god, but nobody wants to do the work to get there. Third reason why we have so many miserable Africans on this planet. Third reason why we have so many miserable Africans on this planet. Third reason why we have so many miserable Africans on this planet is that many of us are living a life without purpose. Many of us are living a life without purpose. I'm here to tell you something right now. This is the doctor of clinical psychology speaking to your unhealthy soul. This is the doctor of clinical psychology speaking to your unhealthy soul. One of the reasons so many Africans around the world are miserable and unhappy is because your life has no purpose. You might have a good job, but does your life have any? It's because your life has no purpose. You might have a good job, but does your life have any purpose? You might belong to the Masonic temple, but does your life have any purpose? You may be an Alpha, you might be a Q, you might be a Sigma, you might be a Kappa, you might be an Iota. But does your life have any purpose? You might be a Zeta. You might be a Delta. I love them Deltas. Lord have mercy. You might be an AKA. You might be a SG Row. But does your life have any purpose? You might be a Muslim praying 5 times a day. But does your life have any purpose? You might be a Bible-toting Christian going to church every Sunday. But does your life have any purpose? Stop confusing obligations with purpose. Purpose and obligation are two different things. Paying your bills is an obligation, but God did not birth you into this world for you to pay bills. Working is an obligation, and you might even like your job, but you were not birthed into this world to work. Do you understand me? Don't confuse obligation with purpose. You need a purpose, and I'm going to tell you right now, the worst thing you can do is get involved in a relationship when you have purpose and your partner does not. Lord have mercy. Who can identify with me? If there's a brother out there who can identify with the message, give me a black fist. If there's a sister who can identify with the message, give me a heart. If there's a brother who can identify with the message, give me a black fist. If it's a sister who can identify with the message, give me a heart. The worst thing you can do is get into a relationship with somebody who doesn't have any purpose. Can you imagine? Let's take DrUMAR Ifatunde. Let's take the #1 Pan-Africanist, the #1 school psychologist, the #1 activist in the world right now for our race. Let's take me. I'm building a school. I'm saving children. I got the parent association. I'm traveling around raising the consciousness. I got the trips to Africa. I got the Black College Tour. I got the national movement to save black boys. My life is full of purpose. DrUMAR's life is full of purpose. Could you imagine if I settled down with a queen whose life has no purpose? Too many black women are settling down with men who have no purpose. Too many black men are settling down with women who have no purpose. Get out the relationship before it destroys you. Get out the relationship before it destroys you. And see, this is why we got to have sexual discipline. This is why we got to have sexual discipline, because when you have a baby with somebody who you never intended to be with, which was poor judgment and poor responsibility, some of us are guilty of that. Some of us are guilty of that. But when you have a baby with someone who you never intended to be with, and you build a family around the children, as you should, Stay if you can and raise them babies together. It's better for the psychological health. But it'll be miserable, but worth it for the kids. But the reason you're miserable is because you got purpose and your partner don't have no purpose. You mean to tell me you're trying to change the world? You're trying to change the world. You're trying to change the world, and you're married to somebody who lives to watch Basketball Wives for 1 hour every week. Your life is brimming over with purpose, but you're married to somebody who only lives to watch Sunday night football nightclub with her girlfriend every Friday. How in the hell can a person with purpose, how can a person with purpose end up in a relationship with somebody who has nothing to live for? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. But you know what happens? When you let that vagina power overtake your thought power. When you let that penis power overtake your thought power. When you let that vagina power overtake your thought power. Leave Ben Simmons alone. Give him another year. He's a young brother. I was out practicing with him the other day, teaching him how to shoot jump shots. Ben Simmons will be back with the Sixers. He's working on his game. Let the brother live. But I digress. Consciousness over cookies. You must live in the realm. I have a life of purpose. Don't get in no relationship with somebody whose life don't have purpose. Another reason why some of us are miserable. We have allowed European capitalism to convince us that having things. Let me say it again. Many Africans have been convinced. I don't care if you are continental African. I don't care if you are Caribbean African. It's what makes you happy. Let me say it again. The white man has convinced the black man that having things makes you happy. So you get one car, and soon when you buy that car, you're so happy, you're so excited. You got a new Benz, you got a new caddy truck. And for the first 4 weeks, the new car, the new car has you brainwashed. The new car is playing a trick on you. The new car has you thinking that you're happier because you have it. That new Louis bag, that new house is happy 3 or 4 weeks after you bought the car, bought the house. Because the car did not make you happier. It only distracted you from your misery temporarily. See, whenever you buy something, it's a honeymoon period. Whenever you buy something, it's a truck. You bought that Benz, you bought that Beamer, you bought that Tesla, you bought the $1 million house. You thought it made you feel better. But it didn't make you feel better. It distracted you from the problems that you're usually faced with. But after 3 or 4 weeks, when the honeymoon period wears off, you notice how you right back where you started? 4 weeks after the Mercedes, you just as miserable as you were before you bought the Mercedes. 4 weeks after you bought the house, you just as miserable as grand distraction of materialism invented by European consciousness. We are living in a grand distraction of materialism invented by European consciousness. We are living in a grand distraction of materialism invented because not being in love with the stuff white people make has allowed me to remain a free man. I don't know what the newest car is, and I don't want to know. I don't know what the latest sneakers are, and I don't want to know. I don't know what of European materialism. One of the wars we're going to have to declare on ourselves. We're going to have to declare a war against European materialism. How can a people begging for reparations? How can a people begging for reparations? How can a people Somebody help me out. Somebody help me out. We are constantly begging the U.S. government to do for us. That's all we do. Beg, beg, beg. Go watch Roland Martin show. All Roland Martin doing his show all day is do what? Beg. What is the government going to do? What is our elected officials going to do? Beg, 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 beg white people all day. And then he argue with other people who ain't begging hard enough, or he argue with the other beggars. All we doing is begging. But you got money for Gucci. You got money for Louis. I'm telling you right now, if you will just accept these words to be true, you will save yourself a lot of money. Some of you are caught up in the matrix of European materialism. You believe the more you own, the happier you are. You are so wrong. Please get out the matrix. You believe the more you own, the happier you are. You are so wrong. Please get out the matrix. You believe the more you own, the happier you are. Please get out the matrix. And I'm going to tell you something else. Don't ever settle down with somebody who's married to materialism. Because anybody married to materialism, I can tell you right now. If you know somebody who's married to materialism, I can promise you, deep down inside, they are not at peace with themselves or their life. The pursuit of materialism is a distraction from internal development. The pursuit of materialism is a distraction from internal development. You don't want to work on your inner self, so you're going to spend all your time working on your outer self. You don't want to work on your inner self, so you're going to spend all your time working on your outer self. You don't want to work on your inner self, so you're going to spend all your time working on your outer self. That's why one of the first things you want to know about a person, what role does the divine have in your life? I didn't say Christianity. That's a religion. Arab cultural product. European cultural product. I didn't say Islam. Okay? That's Arab cultural product. Okay? No disrespect to none of the religions. I respect them all. I read their holy books. There is some truth in it. But when I ask you, what place does the divine have on your life? Black woman, next time you go on a date. Black man, next time you go on a date. Ask the woman, ask the man, what role does the divine have in your life? I didn't say spirituality. I didn't say religion. I said the divine. What role does the divine have in your life? I once heard a woman say, I don't have time for God. That's what she told me. She don't have time for the Lord. Well, if you ain't got time for the Lord, I ain't got time for you. Because you're not living for anything greater. What purpose do you have in your life? And what role does the divine have in your life? What purpose do you have in your life? You are on this planet to do what? To work, pay the bills, raise your kids. Those are obligations. They are good obligations. They are fulfilling obligations. But that is not purpose. I can promise you, God put you here to do more than have kids. I promise you. Who want to bet me? Who want to bet me $100 that God put you on this earth to do something more than have sex and make babies? Who want to bet me money? Who want to bet? You have a purpose that is greater than childbirth. Childbirth is important. The procreation, the regeneration of African people is important. But you're not just here to have a child. Because one day those kids are going to get old enough to have their own kids. So what do you do once the kids become 18? What do you do, black woman, when you can no longer have any kids? What is the purpose of your life then? So you can't only be here to have kids, because if the purpose of the black woman was to push out babies and nothing else, if the purpose of the black woman was to push out babies and nothing else, every black woman would die after menopause. Menopause would be the death of the black woman if the black woman's sole purpose on earth was to have our children. If God put you here only to give birth, black woman, then you would die at menopause. Menopause would be the death of the black woman. And since menopause is not the death of the black woman, that means the black woman is here to do more than push out babies. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand. I want to understand, overstand, and understand. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand. You have a soul. You have to feed the soul just like you feed the body. You have to feed the soul like you feed the body. You have to feed the soul like you feed the body. Three things got to be fed. Your mind, your soul, your mind, your body, your soul. Now, when you read books, you're feeding the mind. When you study, you're feeding the mind. When you write, you're feeding the mind. When you think, you're feeding the mind. When you eat and exercise, you feed the body. But what about the soul? Some of you are miserable because your soul hasn't had any protein in 10 years. Some of you are miserable because your soul hasn't had any protein in 20 years. Some of you are miserable because your soul hasn't had any protein in 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years, or 5 years. You must feed the soul. And what does the soul love most? I'll tell you 3 meals that the soul loves. 3 meals. Confess the Austin brisket. What do y'all call it? The Austin brisket. The Austin, Texas brisket, it was off the hook. It's competing with the Philly cheesesteak. I'm never putting it over the Philly cheesesteak. I got to hold down my hood. I will never put the Austin beef ribs over the Philly cheesesteak. I got to hold down my hood. I will never put the Austin beef ribs over the Philly cheesesteak. I got to hold down my hood. Shout out to West Philly. Shout out to North Philly. Shout out to Northeast Philly. Shout out to Southwest Philly. Shout out to Germantown, Mount Airy, East Oak Lane. Shout out to Yaden. Shout out to Darby. Shout out to Cheltenham. I got to hold down the city of Philly. But those Austin ribs was damn good today. Brisket. The Austin brisket. I'm not from Texas. Brisket. I'm not from Texas. I'm going to see y'all tonight, though, 7 o'clock, right here in event. Pull up. Black Parent Advocate book release. Black Parent Advocate book release. 552 pages of truth for black parents. Come get your copy tonight. 3811 East 12th Street, Austin, Texas. Houston, pull up. San Antonio, pull up. Longview, pull up. Dallas, pull up. But I die. Solitude. Let's talk about the first meal that the soul loves to eat. Solitude. Let's talk about the first meal that the soul loves to eat. Solitude. The art and practice of being solitude. When is the last time you spent an hour by yourself without a phone, without a laptop, without a TV, without an iPad, without a book, without a toy, without a game, without a chessboard, without a woman from the Matrix? I don't care if you go to church every day. You can catch the Holy Ghost. You can go to the mosque and pray all night long. But until you have some solitude, my brothers and sisters, I don't care what religion you claim, until you have some solitude, you will never achieve peace or perspective. So the soul loves solitude. You know what else the soul loves? The soul loves meditation. The soul loves meditation. You can do sound meditation. You can do sight meditation. You can do chant meditation. But you better get some meditation in there. Meditation is the art of open. You can't do that unless you tap out of this European matrix and tap in to the divine matrix. Take out the trash in your mind. When is the last time you took out the garbage in your mind? When is the last time you took out the trash in your mind? Some of you have never taken out the trash. And the only way you can take out the trash is with solitude and meditation. Solitude and meditation. So the soul loves solitude. The soul loves meditation. The soul loves prayer. The soul loves prayer. Yes. Yes. Prayer. Thanking God for what has been done for you and asking God to keep the blessings flowing. Thanking the Creator for what has been done for you and asking the Creator to continue to let the blessings flow into our life, brothers and sisters. You must have a relationship with the Most High. And that relationship should not be limited to Sunday prayer or Friday Juma. That relationship is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Talk to God, joke with God, write to God, think on God. You must have a relationship. The family that prays together stays together. The family that eats together stays together. Prayer. You must be a prayer warrior. We don't have an issue with prayer. We have an issue with people who only pray. We don't have an issue with prayer. We have an issue with people who only pray. We don't have an issue with prayer. We have an issue with people who only pray. If all you're going to do is pray, and you're not going to get out here and confront white supremacy, all you're going to do is pray, and you ain't going to help Dr.UMAR build this school, all you're going to do is pray, and you ain't going to get out here and build no programs and no institutions and no communities and no nations, then God don't hear you. No such thing as prayer from a lazy person. God does not answer the prayers of the lazy. God does not answer the prayers of the lazy. Let me give you one more meal that the soul loves to dine on. Let me give you one more meal that the soul loves to feast on. The soul loves to feast on solitude. The soul loves to feast on meditation. The soul loves to feast on prayer. And guess what? The soul for dessert. What does the soul love for dessert? Guess what the soul loves for dessert, brothers and sisters? Grace and forgiveness. Forgiveness and grace. If solitude was the appetizer and meditation was the main course and prayer was the drink, forgiveness and grace is dessert. What is grace? Grace is the ability of maintaining your composure and your poise when people around you are trying to steal your peace. Let me say it again. Let me say it again. Grace is the ability to smoothly navigate through some tough and rough political, social, emotional, family, romantic turmoil by maintaining your composure and your poise. You off, just smile at them. Somebody trying to piss you off, say, I love you anyway, sister. I support you anyway, my brother. Get into the art of being graceful. Don't be combative. Don't be reactive. Don't be a reactionary. Be graceful. And you must also learn how to forgive people. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Is not forgetting. Rest in peace to Bob Moses. I just got the message, brothers and sisters. One of the icons of the civil rights movement has joined the ancestors. Look up Bob Moses. Bob Moses was one of the greatest organizers of the civil rights movement, and I just got an alert from CNN that Bob Moses has joined the ancestors, brothers and sisters. Rest in peace to Bob Moses. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Without negative energy. When you forgive, you do not forget. You simply release the negative energy that is attached to the memory. Let me say it again. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is releasing the negative energy that is attached to the memory. Forgive. Forgive your mother. Forgive your father. Forgive your brothers and sisters. Forgive your co-workers. I forgive all my haters. And y'all know I got more haters than anybody in the world. I think I got more haters than anybody in the world. I forgive them all. But do I forget? Do I forget? I do not forget. I forgive my haters, but I do not forget. When you forgive, you release the matrix. I don't forget. My haters are not allowed to come to the FDMG block party on Saturday, September the 11th from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. My haters are not allowed to come to the FDMG block party at 600 East 17th Street in Wilmington, Delaware from 11 to 8. They can't come to the block. So we need more solitude, spend some time alone, more meditation, open yourself to spirit, more prayer. Thank God for the good that is coming to your life, because no matter how bad things are, I promise you, there's a million people who have it worse than you. No matter how bad things are, you got a million things to be thankful. I'm not begging, I'm institution building, but you wouldn't understand that because you never built an institution. I'm going to teach in your school. Send me the resume, baby, but you got to be natural. You cannot work at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy if your hair isn't natural, my beautiful African queens. You cannot work at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy if your hair is not natural.